2 of patience, and the 6 perfections. So what I like to do, this is obviously inspired by Geshe Loden's teachings. So what I like to do is to first, for us to all get comfortable, is to do a breathing meditation. But this time I'm actually going to take the breathing meditations from Meditations on the Path to Enlightenment. So please feel free to sit comfortably, have your back in an upright position. And you can have your palms on top of each other and have your thumbs touching, which is the mudra of concentration. And if you are sitting on a cushion at home, you can have your feet crossed in front of you. So begin to withdraw attention from the fields of your senses, from sights, sounds, odors, taste, intangible objects, and focus your full and undivided attention on just the one object, the natural rising and falling of your breath. Let go of all preoccupation with other thoughts, plans, activities, memories of the past, or projections about the future. And just focus on the object of the breath. And let your breath be simple and uncontrived. Don't try and force it, and just watch it in its natural state. And merely observe the movement of the breath. And that can be at the tip of your nose, watching it go in and out. Or you can place your hand on your belly and feel the breath going up and down. As to not get distracted, you can actually count the breath. One being both in and out. And when you've finished, count 2 with the breath in and out breath. And do so until you get to 10, and then start again. And not disturbed by any other thoughts, memories of past events, or projections about the future. The mind remains single-pointedly in the present moment of awareness, merely observing the breath. If you do get distracted by a thought, that's okay. Acknowledge it has happened and bring your mind back to the breath. And start again if you're counting from 1. And we can now finish the meditation. So take your time. It's no rush. And for the people that were here last week, oh no, not last week, the week before, I hope you did the homework on breathing meditation, or try to. But I like to come back to breathing meditation because it's quite simple, because you breathe naturally and you don't have to think about it, and you can you don't have to think about it, and you can focus, you can concentrate on the breath, something that you naturally do without being aware of it. And it actually brings you to an internal space. So it sort of takes away the outside world, and you're bring back to an internal space where your main concern and your main focus is just the breath. And like I say, don't beat yourself up if you lose your concentration. Just acknowledge it and then just go back to the breath, and then you're conditioning yourself to just keep on going back to the breath when you lose the concentration. And sometimes it helps by counting the breaths, and then other times that might become a distraction. So it's actually, it depends on how you are. If you like to count the breaths, or if you like to focus on the feeling at your nose, or the rise and fall at your belly. Okay, so patience. The third perfection that we are covering in this series is patience. So what is patience? Patience is a virtuous mind that can remain indifferent to harm inflicted by others, can voluntarily endure any form of suffering, and remain definitely thinking about the Dharma. To complete the perfection of patience, one does not have to overcome all enemies and harmful people. So that's quite important to keep that in mind. Being able to pacify your own uncontrolled mind is the equivalent of pacifying all unruly beings. So I love Shantideva, so there'll be plenty of quotes from Shantideva in this class. So quote from Shantideva in his Engaging in the Bodhisattva Deeds. Unruly beings are a space. They cannot possibly all be overcome. But if I overcome just thoughts of anger, this will be the same as vanquishing all. So that's something to have a little bit of a think about. Were it necessary to subdue all irritating beings in order to gain the perfection of patience, then, because there are still irritating and harmful beings now, it would imply that all the Buddhas in the past have failed to gain the perfection of patience. The real perfection of patience is to remove totally the last traces of anger and impatience from one's mind. So that's something I like to think about when I read Geshe Loden's text, is that you're removing anger and impatience from your own mind. You're not trying to fix other people's minds and getting angry at them. So you're doing it from your own side, from your own self. At that point, the Bodhisattva overcomes all problems and hindrances simply by subduing their mind. So another quote from Shantideva. I like this one. I'm going to say that to all of them. I like this one from Shantideva. To cover the surface of the earth, there would be insufficient leather. But the leather just on the soles of the shoes is equivalent to covering the earth. So yet another one to think about. A small goal you can take away from this is check in and see how you react to situations. If you are reacting with anger, try to inject patience into some situations. And also reward yourself when you're able to do this. And don't beat yourself up when you're unable to. And the reason why I have said small goals is you don't want to practice patience with every situation, find yourself failing at the task and giving up. So that's not a good intention. Because we've got habitual tendencies and a lot of seeds that we've sown. It's good to focus small steps, little bit by little bit. Patience guards your minds from being disturbed by any harm or difficulty. With consistent practice, your patience will grow. The manifest faults of anger are the endless suffering and agitation that it brings. Anger causes you to hurt someone, and then this stimulates that person's anger, and they retaliate. And then, because they've hurt you, your anger is increased, and your angry response escalates. With anger, you have no peace. Your mind is extremely agitated and gives you no sense of tranquility to either yourself or those around you. So, if you cast your mind back to when you're angry, even if it was over a small thing, you do have that agitated mind, and it's not peaceful. As your mind is agitated, your responses are reactive and out of control. Not like that breathing meditation that we just did. You lose all capacity for good judgment or rational decisions, and your anger drives you to places that a rational mind would never go. And you can see this as an example if you cast your mind to a work situation or a situation when someone was angry. You don't want to be around them. They let off an ugly presence that people naturally want to avoid. And a small situation can be blown out by an angry response. Instead of just accepting it how it is, you are too caught up in the injustice to how it has affected you. I also have a saying that's not Shanti Davis that I have written down is don't sweat the small stuff. And that's, if you just cast your mind back to those mantras of, the sayings and quotes, it can just help you, just bring you back to the present. As with each of the perfections, patience can be utilized in your regular daily activities. You can work at cultivating patience towards the people with whom you interact and the situations you encounter during the day. By practicing even a little bit each day, with consistency, your practice of patience will constantly improve until it becomes perfect. So yet again, you're doing it in small stages. We don't want to solve the world's problems in one day. You can begin by being more patient and tolerant with your partner, then others you may live with, then family, friends, work colleagues, and so on. It is very helpful while developing patience to remember again and again the kindness of other living beings. They are equally as helpful to us as the Buddhas, because they are the objective support for all the practices in which we have become accomplished to attain enlightenment and to be free of suffering. Throughout our life, we encounter people and events that we find difficult or unpleasant. Instead of being angry, frustrated, or depressed, we should see that this is the part of the normal rising and falling of samsara, the uncertainty of samsara. It is experienced by millions of beings, and by practicing patience, we can quickly overcome this suffering and progress towards enlightenment. And then we help alleviate similar sufferings experienced by others. The patience of remaining indifferent to the harm inflicted by others. This form of patience could also be considered to be the patience of not retaliating or the patience of being compassionate to enemies. It is the capacity to tolerate harm from others without angrily striking back. When others harm you while they are out of control, under the influence of their delusions, you should similarly respond with patience and compassion. Seek the means to eliminate the cause of their negative behaviour, their anger and delusion, by helping to pacify their mind. At this stage, a lot of people think if we do this, then we'll become a doormat. I can assure you there are no doormats from the students who have been practicing for years at this temple. The only doormat is at the front of the door of the temple. Your ego mind will come up with excuses as to why not to challenge yourself and remove the habit of negative, angry responses. The more you can practice patience, and it is going to be hard at the beginning, the easier it will become. If you don't practice it, it's not going to become easy. You'll be sowing the seeds in your mind of positive emotions, and this will lead to a peaceful mind for yourself. So if you're not sowing the seeds of anger in your mind all the time, and you're not habitually reacting with anger, eventually those seeds are going to die if you don't water them, right? And if you're watering the seeds of patience and a peaceful mind, you're going to benefit that result in your own mind. So it's just about having practice. In addition to this, because your mind will become peaceful, it would have a positive effect on others. So it's all like a win-win. To cultivate patience, begin the day by setting the strong intentions to be patient and tolerant for the entire day. Determined to resist retaliating to anger and to remain unruffled in the most challenging circumstances. With consistency, you will be able to reduce and then eliminate your anger altogether. You can also begin your daily meditation sessions with setting an intention. This would also make it a daily habit and will help you in your practice of patience with setting daily intentions. I like the idea of setting a daily intention. I think things don't happen automatically. If we're not aware of something, we don't know it's there and we don't do anything about it. But if you set a daily intention, it could be something just as simple as that. Today when I'm going to work, I'm going to try my best to have patience and tolerance to my workmates that I'm with all day. And then if you get to the end of the day and you're successful, pat yourself on the back, say, fantastic, I had a good day today. And if you do have a moment where you did have a little bit of anger, that's okay as well. But you're acknowledging that it happened. It doesn't just happen with your habit. So you're acknowledging, okay, yes, I could have handled that situation a bit better. I'll try again tomorrow. And you can also set intentions, halfway through the day. Sometimes set an intention at the start of the day. By the time you get to lunchtime and you've had to practice patience a lot, you might start to be feeling a bit droopy like a flower. So sometimes, at lunchtime, just say that. Just say that small intention again. Say, I'm going to practice patience in order to, benefit me and others, to have, that peaceful interaction with each other throughout the day. And at first it may seem unnatural, setting this intention, but it does get better and it becomes a habit. And then when it becomes a habit, you're developing those positive seeds and that becomes habitual to you. So then you start to do it without even having to think about it, which is pretty cool. Okay, I thought I'll pause then because I've got my favourite Shanti Deva quote coming up, and I just had to get a drink of water before I said that. In dealing with difficulties or stressful situations, it is very helpful to reflect on this verse from Shanti Deva. I've actually got this written down. This is one of my absolute favourites. If it can be remedied, why be unhappy with that? If it cannot be remedied, what is the use of being unhappy about that? I actually find this good for anxiety and sort of keeping yourself in the presence and not worrying about things that have happened or going to happen. So I'll read that one again. If it can be remedied, why be unhappy with that? If it cannot be remedied, what is the use of being unhappy about that? This is to say, if it can be remedied, just go ahead with the remedy and the situation is solved. So why worry about it? If there is no solution, being unhappy and agitated, if anything, just makes the situation worse. The patience of definitely thinking about Dharma. This form of patience is an attitude willing to constantly listen to, think about, and meditate on the Dharma. If you were listening to the first session I gave on generosity and ethics, this is a reoccurring theme, listening to, thinking about, and meditating on the Dharma. So I always point this out because it's quite important in your practice to do all three. If your mind becomes impatient, frustrated, or unhappy when you're engaged in learning, analysing, or meditating on the Dharma, it's going to set up a barrier to your progress. So this is about having patience, about thinking about the Dharma. You will feel bad when you go to pick up a Dharma book and the sight of your meditation cushion will make you sick. So it is very important to have this patience that overcomes the obstacles set up by any aversion to definitely thinking about Dharma. To practice Dharma successfully, we must have constant vigilance and mindfulness to overcome the enemy of the delusions. So when you are thinking about the Dharma or you're setting up your daily intention about being patient, it does require vigilance and mindfulness. Like I said before, it's not something that happens automatically. It's an intention that you're setting. And sometimes it may feel like you're being a warrior. You're trying to combat these habitual seeds that have been planted for a long time. You're finding that you're doing the opposite of what has been sort of like a natural reaction to you. So it is challenging and it does require vigilance and mindfulness, but the reward's worth it. Okay, a final quote from Shanti Deva before we move on to a meditation on patience. If someone dropped his sword during a battle, he would immediately pick it up out of fear. Likewise, if I lose the weapon of mindfulness, I shall quickly retrieve it, being afraid of the hells. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to do meditations, a meditation on patience from the Meditations on the Path to Enlightenment. So most of what I speak about is from the Essence of the Path to Enlightenment or Meditations on the Path to Enlightenment. And then you get a few of my ideas that get put in in amongst it from my squirrel mind. So what I'm going to do today is we'll do a preliminary meditation that sort of gets you into the meditation. So you can do a preliminary meditation such as breathing, so like what we did at the start. But what I've chosen to do this time is to actually do a visualization. So a visualization of Shakyamuni Buddha. If you haven't done this before, it may seem new, but you know, we've got some inspiration behind us, which is good. And what I would like to say is try if you can to visualize it in golden nature light. So not like a physical statue, just like golden nature light. And if you can't visualize the Buddha, that's okay. You can visualize the shape of a Buddha, or you can visualize just light coming towards you. So, you know, you can visualize like the feeling of having Buddha in front of you as well. So there's a few methods as well that you can do. So, yeah, just relax again. So start, and after I do the visualization of Buddha, he's going to come to our crown and he's going to sit with us while we do the meditation on patience. So that's going to be pretty cool. And so this is going to be like a longer meditation than the one at the front. The first one I did. So if you do need to, you know, stretch your feet out or, you know, shift a little bit through it, you can. There are going to be pauses. So after the visualization, we're going to do an analytical meditation. And the analytical meditation is good because I'm going to read examples of patience and from what we've discussed. And you can actually bring to mind times where you've become angry or been in that stressed or agitated states. And so you can visualize that for yourself and use that as an example, or you can use the examples that I read out as well. So just relax, sit upright, get back into meditation posture, and I'll guide you through it. And for those at home, do the same, or if you're sitting down, you know, sit down with your legs crossed in front of you. Yet again, the mudra of concentration, which is good. It sort of tells you if you've fallen asleep, because if your thumbs slip, it means you've lost the meditation object. So that's the mudra of concentration. All right. Visualize in space before you at about the level of the forehead, not too high and not too low, a precious throne in the nature of light, supported by 8 mighty lions. On top of the throne is a light-natured lotus flower with petals of various colours. On top of the lotus is a disc-like moon cushion. And on top of the moon is a disc-like sun cushion, both in the nature of light. Sitting on these is our kind root guru, taking the aspect of Shakyamuni Buddha. His body is golden coloured in the nature of light. His right hand rests on his right knee in the earth touching gesture. His left hand rests in his lap in the gesture of meditative equipoise, and holds a begging bowl filled with nectar. He is wearing the saffron-coloured robes of a monk and has the 32 major marks and 80 minor signs of a perfect enlightened being. Imagine beautiful golden rays of light emanating from his body and touching everything around, including yourself, and giving you a sense of peace and warmth. And now imagine that he shrinks to a very small size, and he comes towards your crown and faces the same way as you and sits on top of your crown. And he's going to remain for the whole meditation session. So while the Buddha's sitting there, recollect the nature of patience. Patience is the virtuous mind that can remain indifferent to any form of harm inflicted by others, can voluntarily endure any form of suffering, and remain definitely thinking about the Dharma. When this equanimous, peaceful, stable, and non-violent mind is conjoined with bodhicitta, motivation, it becomes a perfection of patience. Generate this mind of patience by thinking, through this act of patience, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain enlightenment for the benefit of all living beings. And hold this single-pointedly, this mind of patience. Remember, the Buddha is still there on your head, on your crown. Now let's move to the second part of the meditation, and that is to develop your enthusiasm for the practice of patience by contemplating the benefits arising from the practice and the disadvantages arising from its opposite, anger. Patience brings great stability, courage, and strength to mind. Patience overcomes all fear and the mental agitation which arises from fear. It is thus a source of inner peace and freedom. Patience is the cause of beauty, the cause of having many good friends, a large entourage, and so on. Patience will bring high rebirths in the future. It protects one's accumulation of merit and virtue, that is one source of happiness. Developing the perfection of patience is an essential cause for the attainment of enlightenment. By contrast, anger is an unpeaceful, unstable, and fundamentally paranoid state of mind. It is a source of harm for both oneself and others, and destroys happiness and good conditions. It causes wars amongst nations and personal, social, and family conflict. Anger destroys relationships and is a cause of being lonely and isolated. Anger destroys one's beauty and is a cause for having an unpleasant appearance. It brings all the suffering of lower rebirths and obstructs one's spiritual development. By considering the advantages of patience and the disadvantages of anger, you will develop a strong enthusiasm for the practice of patience. Hold this strong enthusiasm for patience single-pointedly. And now we're going to move on to the third part of the meditation. So feel free if you need to stretch a little bit and then go back into meditation. The third part of the meditation is patience of remaining indifferent to the harm inflicted by others. Review the way that other people seem to be able to hurt you or have hurt you in the past. Analyze where you experience the pain, and you will find that naturally it is experienced in your mind. Then analyze to find what it is exactly within this formless thing we call mind that causes an experience of pain in relation to the various events that you are considering. Then examine how to fix the situation. You will find that what will fix the situation is a change within your mind. And that change will involve an expression of patience. To convince yourself that this really is the solution to the harm inflicted on you by someone. Examine the alternative. Don't apply patience. You will then find that mental agitation and pain will continue or at best recede into the background, only to emerge again later. The mental agitation that you experience in relation to the unresolved pain will propel you into the mental agitation of an angry response to the person harming you. He will be hurt by that and become angrier himself, so that he hurts you some more. The situation will only escalate until someone applies a measure of patience. There is no solution to the problem without transforming your mental responses into one of patience. So, take a number of hurtful examples that have bothered you and apply the above procedure, the procedure I just spoke about, until you arrive as a response of increased patience, and then concentrate single-pointedly on that. Retain this experience of the patience of remaining indifferent to the harm inflicted by others. You can do a little bit of a stretch if you need to, or stay in meditation. Now extend your practice of patience to include the patience of voluntarily bearing suffering and the patience of definitely thinking about the Dharma. Hold single-pointedly the understanding that you will then have of the total practice of patience. And finally, mix this realization of patience with a perfection of patience by reflecting on how to practice total patience with bodhicitta motivation and dedication. Bodhicitta motivation, such as, through this act of patience may I and all sentient beings quickly attain enlightenment for the benefit of all living beings. And bodhicitta dedication at the end of the action, such as, through this act of patience may I and all sentient beings quickly attain enlightenment for the benefit of all living beings. Then meditate single-pointedly on this perfection of patience. Now you can finish the meditation. Take your time. Sorry, I was very kind to give you the full meditation on patience. It's quite a long meditation experience, especially if you're new. So you probably had a bit of patience to do that one. But what you can do is, if you do get meditations on the path to enlightenment, you can do small sections on patience. You don't have to do the whole meditation. You can start off with a breathing meditation to just get yourself into the zone, and then you can do a visualization meditation where you're bringing the Buddha to mind, and that has a beautiful calming effect. And then you can focus on the object, another object, which is on patience, and you can use, like I said, use your own examples, because then it makes much more sense to you to use your own examples. And then you can wrap it up with the dedication of bodhicitta motivation. So I hope you enjoyed that one. Okay, so I have a couple of announcements before I move on to question time. So one is, I'd like to briefly speak about the upcoming winter retreat over the Queen's birthday weekend, which, all going well, will be both on site and online. You can do it both part-time or full-time. And this has been advertised via email and also on the website. It is being led by Martin Horan, who, from my point of view, has a very logical and methodical way of thinking. So he would lead a beautiful meditation. The topic is going to be on mindfulness, which is a really beautiful topic. And I've briefly spoken about mindfulness, but Martin will speak in a lot more detail than what I have. And I find retreats to be great. It's a good way to, it doesn't matter what level experience you have. It's nice to sort of give yourself a break and unplug for the weekend. And, if you learn something along the way, that's a bonus. So that's what I like to attend retreats for. It's quite nice and relaxing. And the second announcement I have is we have a community meeting, which will be held on site and online at 2 p.m. next Saturday, the 21st of May, following by an afternoon tea. This is actually a really fantastic event and initiative, and gives everyone the opportunity to participate and contribute ideas. Let me know if you're interested, and if you're not registered to receive emails, so I can collect your RSVP, or you can actually email cst@tushita, tushita.org, if you like. So that wraps up patience. I hope you enjoyed this subject. Next week I'll be talking about joyous effort. I think it really, actually, all the perfections of patience really flow on from one to another. So you've got generosity and ethics flowing onto patience, and then you've got it flowing onto joyous effort. And joyous effort is really good, and it can also help overcome feelings of laziness that can arise. And sometimes, we need to give ourselves some self-motivation to get that sort of joy and that effort to, keep doing what we want to do. So does anyone have any questions in regards to patience? And I'll try my best to answer. And if I can't answer, I'll write it down, and I'll speak to some senior students and get back to you. And if anyone has any questions online, they're most welcome to write their question. Did you like the Buddha visualization? Really nice and calming, isn't it? It's one of the preliminary practices, and it's, yeah, just a good way to get into meditation, and it's a refuge to the Buddha and the Dharma and Sangha. It's really, really quite special. I always tend to finish a little bit earlier. That's okay. Oh, that's all right. No questions is good questions in my book. Yeah, so I hope you had a beautiful session, and that my intention for these classes is to just work on things slow and steady. So it's not about building Rome in a day. It's about just slow and steady in progression in your practice. So yeah, please join me for afternoon tea in the dining room and at the back of the temple. And if you are going to the enjoyment gift shop, feel free to browse. There's no rush to get to the afternoon tea at all. I might go there myself. Actually, I'm running out of chai, so I'll be heading that way as well. But yeah, thank you very much. Have a beautiful afternoon, and have a beautiful day. Thank you. Take care. Oh, do it again. Please, please feel free to go. I'm just going to go know myself. Shouldn't be loud. I won't cheat until I die. As long as I can control.